The messenger of God said, "There are 3 qualities of noble character in the sight of Allah." "O messenger of Allah, what are they?" He said, "It is that you forgive those who wrong you, that you give to those who deprive you, and that you maintain relations with those who abandon you." It is important that if we desire to move toward peace in this world, that we return good upon evil. And that this, the returning of good upon evil, is the true meaning of justice. I hear people and I use the word justice, and I hear the word justice used out in the world, and quite often I hear tones of punishment and revenge, and kind of like a line from The Princess Bride about another word, "I don't think that means what you think it means." I think there's a deep misunderstanding of what justice is. And I don't particularly walk around with the idea of justice in my head. It's something I'm still thinking through. But I know it's an important element for a lot of people, and so I do want to speak to it. You know, we feel like that if bad has been done to us, that the leveling or justing, making things into level, making things into balance, is to balance at the lowest common denominator. If I've been hurt, then someone else also must be hurt to balance this. Whatever pound has been taken out of my skin has to be taken out of someone else's skin, preferably the person who did it to me. And but anybody will do sometimes. And often also there are those who we sometimes despair of the Old Testament adage or instruction, eye for an eye. But I think back then people were actually even more out of balance, that if someone insulted them with their verbal, they might get killed for that. The retribution was way out of balance, and so bringing it into at least being the same thing, make it be as equal as you can at least, was actually a progress. And again, there are people in this world who still, and somebody annoys you and you go key their car or something, that's out of balance. At least if they annoy you, at least just annoy them back. That's like the limit of where you should go. But of course, the next step, and that's God, like working with, he's frustrated with human beings. Like, oh my gosh, I have so much more to tell you, but can you at least do this? So these aren't actually God's ideas to me. This is how I read it. This is God working with a bunch of frustrating humans who are not ready to hear what God really has to say. But here's my question. Why are we skewed toward needing to balance everything at the lowest common denominator? Why isn't justice, and I think it is, I think justice is the opportunity to balance things at the highest common denominator. And the way that you do that is by returning good upon evil. Everyone has been hurt. Everyone has been crucified. Because when we're born, we're innocent, right? And the crucifixion starts. And so the part where we're innocent is we're innocent. And by the time we get to where we're not as innocent, most of us, not all of us, have been traumatized by various things. Sometimes by our parents and family. And other times, it's other things like school or whatever, media. And then we get, at that point, if we're if we don't understand any other principles of blessing, then we turn around and become the crucifiers. And this cycle is endless, because if you say, my parents did this to me, or anybody, but let's take the parents thing. My parents did this to me. Well, their parents did something to them. Well, their parents did something to them. Or their parents, and maybe it's not their parents, but you can follow that thread all the way back and try to find who to blame or who to punish. And you will never get to the end of it. Everybody, quote unquote, deserves punishment. I don't really believe that, but if we're going to go there, everybody does, and everybody doesn't. So if you're going to have justice, instead of making sure everybody gets taken away the same amount, why don't we have eyes that maybe see what is missing and restore what is missing to the person? Because perhaps that is the thing that they're missing that will allow them to be a completely different person and not have the problem that they do. Now, I do want to say that I'm not saying be a doormat or let people take advantage of you or let people hurt you. You need to sometimes call people out. You definitely need to limit people. And if you are allowing someone to harm you at this time in your life, whether it's physically or verbally or just maybe it's yourself, maybe you're making choices that aren't good for your own integrity. If you don't know how to be good to yourself and give justice to yourself, you're not ready to understand that for other people. The first person that you should be good to is yourself. And then you'll be ready to be good to the next person. And you absolutely don't need to allow toxic people and toxic situations in your life. Be good to yourself. Find justice and mercy for yourself. And by the way, justice and mercy are not opposite things. They're pretty much the same thing. And here's the thing, too. When everyone's in a different place, and I know that I've been in different places where I really just had to protect myself. Like I've met people or situations that were too big for me. And I couldn't return good on it because I just wasn't strong enough. And so I just have to take care of myself first. And that's okay if that's where you're at, because again, being good to yourself counts. You're a human being. And if you can be good to yourself and bring peace to yourself, then you've done more than most people. You've made a little light of peace somewhere on the planet in yourself. But if you do feel a little stronger, or if you have some long-term situations that you're just doing the same thing over and over again and it's not getting you anywhere, have you tried to be creative with doing good on the evil? And at first it seems strange, but it can be so fun. And I'm going to tell you a few stories. Once when I was, and maybe I've told this story before, but I was in elementary school, and this girl in my class started to be very, very mean to me. And I don't know why. I never did figure out why. I don't know if we hadn't necessarily been friends before or anything. She was just a girl in the class, but she would just every day say just really mean things to me, and I don't know. It was scary to me at the time. I was in elementary school, but I thought about, and I'd been, I went to church when I was little, and I'd heard a few things, and I felt like I should bring her a cookie. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to bring her a cookie, and I left a cookie in her desk, and she opened her desk and saw the cookie and found, I didn't really say who it was, but she did find out it was me. And she was sorry for what she'd done. And it was more than that. She was so tickled and surprised to get a cookie. And she was so tickled and surprised to get it from me. She knew she'd done something wrong. And I don't know where her pain came from to do that, but and I'm not saying everyone will react that way, but it's worth a try, and it can be fun. It was fun to see the look on her face. And another time was when I was raising my son, and I was not the best young mother. Sometimes there's a lot of conflict and anger and just some, I was struggling with a lot of things with depression and anxiety, and we didn't always have a very harmonious family life, although in my best times I did try. So one of the things that happened was my 5-year-old son was really acting out, and he was just he was misbehaving every single second of every day. It was just more than I could handle. And I was thinking, my first indulgence to myself was that I should provide a consequence or punish him or whatever. That was back when I stopped believing in punishment completely now. But I was just going off of my old parenting ideas that I'd gotten from my parents or from the world. But an idea came to me that I should, if he acted in a way that was disruptive to our home, that I should go and just put my arms around him. And remember, he was 5 years old too. He was a little guy. And so when this happened, I went and put my arms around him and just squeezed him tight. And of course, the minute I was doing that, I realized I hadn't been doing it enough anyway. Like, I was missing it too. Like, oh, this is my little boy. And I just wanted him in my arms. And again, the look on his face, like, because he was expecting to be yelled at or something, but he was like, that relief, that surprise, that good has come to him. And it did calm him down from his behavior, because what he had been missing had been restored to him. What if someone came at us with a war, and instead of meeting them with the other side of the war, we met them with a supper or a party, or we met them with doctors, we met them with helping them build their house? What if we met them with something so surprisingly good? What if we did that? Jacob and Esau, another story I like. This is the other story I wanted to tell you. Jacob and Esau were twins, twin brothers, but they had a lot of tensions, and honestly, it could have been laid at both of their feet, maybe even more at Jacob's. But Jacob ended up leaving his home and leaving his brother, and had a lot of adventures, and in the process became quite a wealthy man. He had a lot of flocks and different things. And then when he decided to come home, or when it was time to come home, his scouts were telling him, your brother Esau's up there. You're almost going to come into his place, and he's coming toward you. And I don't remember if the story tells what Esau's frame of mind was, but Jacob was a little bit nervous and scared and felt like that this was going to be a war, but he, or maybe he recognized his own faults in the situation as well. And he started to tell his servants to go send Esau all of these gifts, like major parts of the flock, and I don't know what else, but he started sending gifts to Esau ahead of the camp of Jacob. And so by the time that Jacob and Esau met each other, they just wept and held each other. And again, I don't know if Esau was coming with a war, but Jacob makes sure that Esau knew that he was not coming with a war. And so please start thinking of justice, if you can, as leveling us to the highest denominator, not the lowest. And instead of trying to take out of somebody's skin the same balance that was taken out of your skin, so to speak, why don't we try to restore what's missing to ourselves and restore what's missing to other people and balance it that way? Return good upon evil. Again, doesn't mean let people hurt you. And it doesn't mean that if you're not strong enough that it's okay if you can't be super nice to someone. It's okay to have your emotions and go home and take care of yourself and comfort yourself if that's where you're at. But the stronger you get, and the more that your mind opens, you're going to get excited about this. It's exciting to return good upon evil. It's a very strong, exciting, fun, delicious thing. And to see the looks on people's faces when you hand them their gift instead of their punishment. And this is how the world will be saved. And we don't have to wait for that. We can do that now.